So here, verse 17. When time had passed, Joseph and Miriam came to Jerusalem and stayed at the house of a relative, and a man strongly set against wrongdoing and well learned in the Torah. Let's see, dedicated sages, because of foretold. Okay, I think this is it. Because of the things foretold have come about, your servant is prepared to depart in shalom, in peace. For my eyes have been gladdened by the deliverer of my people and beacon light. So that's not the one either. There was I'm trying to remember. But yeah, it doesn't actually say Egypt. It said that they had fled because Herodias was looking for the child. But yes, so far I'm finding this a very interesting book. So let's continue. Let's go to chapter 2. Vada, no, I'm reading out of what is called Yah's Scriptures. Yah's Scriptures, and the Book of Natzarym is included in it. The Book of Natzarym. Okay, so chapter 2, let's continue. So it reads, Joseph, that is the husband of Mary, was unalived when Yahusha was a youth, at that time working as a craftsman among the Canaanites. After Yahusha had been away a long time, he returned to the house of his brothers. One day, while he worked under the shade of a tree, they came to him and said, out in the wilderness, let me again, be patient with me as I'm moving this big book. Out of the wilderness by the Jordan or the Yarden, there is a man who cleanses people by immersion in water. He claims strange knowledge and calls himself the forerunner. We are going to see what he teaches. Yahusha said, and we know who this forerunner is. I get goosebumps right now just because that's Yohanan, John the Immerser. Yahusha said, I have heard of these things, and surely as the son of our forerunner Yashai, which is Jesse, prayed to be cleansed of his secret faults and presumptions, the sons of our father should not stand aloof from cleansing. I will go with you. Let me read that again. Yahusha said, I have heard of these things, and surely as the son of our forefather Yeshai prayed to be cleansed of his secret faults. His secret faults. So these are hidden faults or hidden transgressions and presumptions. The sons of our father should not stand aloof or stand by from cleansing. I will go with you. The brothers of Yahusha, so these are his half-brothers, DNA, meaning Mary's other biological children. Again, for those that are or came out of Catholicism, you know that Catholicism teaches that she never had no other child but Yahusha. And she was always known as a virgin, but that is not true. I think there was like 4 other sons that she had. But anyways, let's continue. So the brothers of Yahusha said, this man is called Yohanan. He heralds the coming of an enlightener who will be an all-wise instructor of righteousness or in righteousness. He himself does not bear this new light, which will dispel the darkness in men's minds. He tells of one who will grant men the privilege of becoming children of Elohim, awakening to eternal high, the eternal day, that part within them not born of earthly desires. So for those of you, high right there, and we're not talking about the guttural sound like a lot of these Yiddish people say, but the high is day, okay, or life as it actually is in the Hebrew abrit. Okay, so high is life. That part within them not born of earthly desires. So Yahusha and his brothers went out seeking Yohanan, finding him beside the Yarden or the Jordan at the place of crossing where there was a pool. The hairs on the head of Yohanan were already white. I've never heard a description of John. I've never known that his hair was already white. This is again amazing. Yohanan, seeing Yahusha among those gathered about him, said, "Look, all of you, here he is, a man in whom there is no guile or no transgression, nor uncleanness," right? The true Lamb of Elohim, the mighty one, the one we await. Can you imagine what that must have been like for Yohanan, John, to have seen? Out of all the midst of the people that are there, he looks and he sees the Mashiach in the midst of the crowd. Wow. I can only imagine, really. For said they all, sending me forth to immerse, instructed me thus: when you discover a man worthy to be the receptacle or the vessel of the Ruach HaKodesh let me make sure that is the right page. I hope I didn't skip one. Hold on one second. In Kadash, I did skip. I was wondering why it didn't make sense. Okay, let me read that part again for you guys. When you discover a man worthy to be the receptacle, that is a vessel of the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit, and then let me bring it here so you guys can see. With abundance, the same shall you acknowledge as the enlightener. Hearing these words, Yahusha joined with those to be cleansed. But when he stood before the forerunner in the water, Yohanan said, "You have greater powers of cleansing than I, yet you come to me." Yahusha replied, "The power to cleanse and revitalize with the Ruach, that is, with the Spirit, is not in men, but in the Ruach, which fills man. It is important each should be allowed to do whatever he is called upon to do." Yahusha asked of Yohanan, "What do you know about me?" And Yohanan said, "Years gone by, or years in the past, I had a vision of 3 lights of the Shamayim, or in the heavens. And as the sun sank, so they rose. A flame of fire went up over Jerusalem, and smoke filled the Hakal, or the temple. And a star fell down into Yehuda. The meaning I know, for it was this: the deliverer is born. And woe unto the house of Herodias! Woe to you scribes and your interpretations of the Torah." Whew, I don't know why I feel this, I'm like emotional right now. I'm like very emotional. Almost to the point that I'm like in tears. But anyways, notice it says, woe to the scribes, right? And your interpretations of the Torah. How is it that these people, as they do even this day, twist scripture? They twist the law. The star that appeared and stood over Jerusalem was a child planted in Bethlehem from out of the heights of the Shamayim, from out of the heights of the heavens, as was foretold. And it was Nabu. He would be the deliverer. I wonder what Nabu means. The fire that burned was the fire of a strange altar. Interesting. The fire that burned was the fire of a strange altar. Let me take a note here of the word Nabu. I'm going to have to look that up. Nabu. Look up. Okay. Nilda, nice to see you here, Cody. Yahuwah's wins. That means the announcer. Is that what Nabu means? I'm going to look it up to see what it is. Or Naba. I'll put Nabu. I meant Naba. Let me put down. Is it Nabu? Oh, Nabu, not Naba. Okay. This is out of, oh, so you're saying the announcer. Okay, Yah wins. I'm going to take you at your word. Yes, announcer. Ali Shava says the same. Okay. Vicky says prophesied. Okay. Prophet. It's nice to have that we're all studying this together. Thank you for being my eyes and ears for this. I think it means prophecy. It says a Babylonian God. Nabi. Yeah, I know what a Nabi is. Nabi is a prophet, yes. But okay. So let's continue. Nilda, this is out of the book called Yah's Scriptures, and I'm reading a specific book called the Book of Natzarym out of the volume of this book. Okay. Nabi means prophet. Yes, we do know that. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing that we notice here at the end of this verse, it says, the fire that burned, which Yohanan said he saw, burned was the fire of a strange altar. I, Naba, great things for you. I, Naba, great things for you. You are the true Ban of Elohim, which is the son of Elohim. Soon you will see the esteem of the Shamaim revealed and the power of the Ruach HaKadosh will be poured out upon you as a stream of pure water. The time has come to proclaim yourself. Isn't that interesting that Yohanan is telling him, you are going to be this pure water, and it's time. The time has come for you to proclaim yourself. It's time for you to say who you are. Shalom, shalom on you, whom our mighty one has chosen as his messenger. For you will proclaim the true Basora, the true great news. Strengthen your heart, for the road ahead is steep and stony. Because Yohanan knew that he was going to have to be unalived for his people. That the Messiah would have to be unalived for his people. And so he says to strengthen your heart, for the road ahead, or that is ahead of him, ahead of the Messiah, is going to be steep. A fight, if you will, and stony. It's not going to be an easy path. No man is hated so much as one who tries to point out defects in character and attitudes and seeks to guide men along the path of right and beneficial living. Then Yohanan took Yahusha down to the river and immersed him. And he was overshadowed by the Ruach HaKadosh and became fully filled with its power, so his face glowed. And the people wondered and were bewildered, for they did not understand. Yet the face of their forefather Masha had also glowed after he had been in the presence of the Ruach HaKadosh of Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Yohanan said, go and wait upon the mountainside nearby. Later, Yohanan went to join Yahusha and told him that he was the anointed one, but should not yet make this known to the people. Again, very interesting that Yohanan has to say this to the Mashiach. Later, verse 16. Then Yohanan prayed thus, we give thanks, O Yahuwah, with beings or souls purified through realization of our misdeeds, and ruachot, or the spirits reaching upward to commune with you. It is by your power alone we have seen the light of truth manifested and come to know the secret of your hidden name. Ooh! And come to know the secret of your hidden name. Wow. In humility we call you by the name of Father, because you have shown us a father's compassion and kindness, and because we know you chastise and discipline us after the manner of a father. You have granted us freedom of activity. That would be a way of saying you have given us a freedom of choice, that we may enjoy the barakah of Kai, of life, the spirit of life, right? Or the blessing of life. We have been saved by the waters of your affection. We approach you as the only great, or the only righteous and great being, asking only that we be united with you in the waters of the Ruach and never become separated from the source of life, or Chai. This is how Yohanan testified concerning these events. On that day, the Ruach, outflowing from Elohim, came with a great surge of power. I did not know this man from others, but seeing him, I recalled what I had been told by those who gave me power to cleanse with water. They had said, when you find someone so filled with the power of the Ruach HaKadosh, he can hardly contain it. You will know him for one who will immerse with the cleansing of power of the Ruach HaKadosh. I have experienced this power and testify that this man is the true Ban of Elohim, the true son of Elohim, the enlightener and deliverer. Yohanan left Yahusha on the mountainside where he stayed 3 days fasting and communicating with the powers above. Let me read that again. Yohanan left Yahusha on the mountainside where he stayed, where the son Yahusha stayed 3 days fasting and communicating with the powers above. Then he went back to the riverside. Yohanan was standing with two of his Talmudim, two of his disciples, Yahusha sitting apart, and Yohanan said to those with him, "There is the one giving himself as an offering to Elohim," that is to the mighty one, the enlightener of the world and the deliverer of our people. Then the two Talmudim went to Yahusha and said, "Tell us about your teachings. Shall we follow your way?" Notice that the way is capitalized, or that of Yohanan. Yahusha said, "There is the way of the wilderness, and there is my way, alike in teaching, but calling to different men. What Yohanan teaches accords with the Torah, even as my teaching obey either or both. They are the law or the Torah." So let me stop there. What we're seeing here is the Mashiach himself, Yahusha, when he is asked by these two disciples of John's, "Tell us about your teachings. Shall we follow your way or that of Yohanan or John's?" And Yahusha said, "There is the way of the wilderness," which is John's wilderness or John's teaching, "and there is my way, alike in teaching or the same teaching, but calling to different people or to different men." So what I'm getting out of this is that there is different callings, but the same teaching, because the teaching is the same. And so it says, what Yohanan teaches accords with the Torah or aligns with the law, even as my teachings obey either or both. They are the Torah. So either you follow John's teachings or you follow the Messiah's teachings. They are the same. Just obey either one or both. They are the law. Hallelujah. Wow. Now, let me go back. There was something that I caught before we finish this chapter. No, let me go ahead and keep reading and then I'll go back to it because it might say it and I don't want to jump ahead. Verse 21. For that day forth, Yahusha had power to heal the sick and to do many things, but he went out into the wilderness bordering Jordan, uncertain about his next move. While there, hungry and thirsty, he fought with the flesh, resisting the temptations to go down among the habitations of men and use his powers for selfish ends. Wow. Wow. So exactly what I was about to think. Here it is, I'm reading about it. So this is the moment that he was in fasting for 40 days, because we read earlier, it says that he was fasting for 3 days, right? Here it says in verse 18, Yohanan left Yahusha on the mountainside where he, meaning the Messiah, Yahusha, stayed 3 days fasting and communicating with the powers above. So not only did he fast 3 days, but now we see here that he was hungry and thirsty. While there, hungry and thirsty, so he's in the wilderness bordering the Jordan. He fought with his flesh. He resisted temptation, what Shaitan was trying to bring at him, and we can read about that in the other Basoras, to go down amongst the habitations of the people. So he could have left at any time that he wanted to, but no, he didn't. He didn't want to use his powers for selfish means or selfish gain. The same Ruach of Yahuwah, which overshadowed Yahusha, overshadowed the creation. The same Ruach of Yahuwah, which overshadowed Yahusha, overshadowed the creation. It enlightens outer darkness and bestows Chai or life and is eternal. Yohanan was one of those who can see the Ruach coats of men or the spirits of men. And so he knew the nature of Yahusha. So he had a discernment of spirits, Yohanan. He was able to discern spirits upon men. These things took place at Betharaba, which means the place of crossing. Interesting, family. What do you guys think of the second chapter? Anyone have any thoughts? Anything that they want to share? Before we go on and read the next chapter. Shalom, Hebrews View. Nice to see you. Yes, powerful, awesome. I'm astounded. My sister Stella did send me a link for it. For those of you who are interested, I will send it to any of you who are interested. Just DM me here on TikTok, and I will copy and paste it onto your DM, okay, or DM it back to you. All right, so let's continue. Chapter 3. Coming from the wilderness, Yahusha still retained the full power of the Ruach HaKodesh, having it on trusteeship from Elohim. So again, having it on trusteeship, I'm assuming that to being that he has it upon himself because Elohim has given it to him through trust. He would not use it unworthily. At night, it shone around him like a pale blue haze. Wow, that must have been beautiful. And though many have it, never has another manifested in such strength. Wow. So there are others that have this pale blue haze around them. I guess some would call it an aura, right? As they would say in some Eastern mysticism. But this in itself has the truth of him having this esteem about him, this Shekinah esteem about him. Two followers of Yohanan, the forerunner, that is Yohanan the immerser, one being Andri, you may know him as Andrew, the brother of Shimon, you may know him as Peter, were sent by him to be with Yahusha and accompanied him to the Sea of Galilee, or the Sea of Galilee of the nations. Early in the morning, Andri sought out his brother and said, "We have found the deliverer. We have found the Savior." Thank you for that. Thank you. But at the time, Shimon thought another was meant. So this would be Peter. When Yahusha had known Shimon for 2 days, he said, "You are strong, silent, and steady, one likely to be ever steadfast in conflict. Therefore you shall be called Kapha," this meaning the rock. In the tongue of the nations. In the tongue of the nation. In the language of the nations. I'm assuming he's saying in the language of the Gentiles, because it's plural. And from that day, Kapha became a follower of Yahusha. Hold on one second. We're getting a lot of, says in the book of Revelation, there was only one trustworthy to open the books. Yes, Stella, in chapter 5 of Revelation, yes, the Lamb who was slain before the foundation of the world. Yeah, that's what I'm getting there too, Umsi. Gentiles or tribes, it could be. It could be. It's just interesting that it uses that phrase, the tongue of the nations. Okay, verse 4. Passing along the shore, they came upon the tower of fishermen, and a boat was being unloaded by its owners. One who accompanied Yahusha said, "Those are great men known to me." Then Yahusha spoke to them while sharing a meal and later said, "Fishing is a great life, but there is a better one. Follow me and you will become fishers of men." So placing their boat in the keeping of others, they followed Yahusha. So that means they left their trade of being fishermen. They left it with others and they followed Yahusha. At this time, Yahusha spoke with caution, for the people still recalled Yehuda from Galilee, who had smitten the Romans in battle. Okay, so let me read that again. At this time, Yahusha spoke with caution, for the people still recalled Yehuda or Judah from Galilee, who had smitten the Romans in battle. So there was a war between the Yahudim and the Romans in battle. Yahusha was a man of long silences, and many thought him strange. But he taught all along the shore of the Sea of Galilee and called others to follow him. They worked wherever they could. For Yahusha said, "What we offer is not to be sold like a common chattel." Okay, like a common cattle. "And we will not take anything without giving value in return." Wow, listen to that. What we offer, notice that the "we" is capitalized. He's talking about him and the Father. Offer is not to be sold like a common chattel, like a common thing. And we will not take anything without giving value in return. So what you give is what you're going to get, pretty much, right? He healed many, saying, "It is not I, but the power from above with me." Some of the Talmudim, some of the disciples said, "It is truly he who heals." But he did not cure all, for in some it created a disturbance, while many were not cured, because this would have done them more harm than righteousness, or more than, let's see, what would be a better way than to say good, more harm than it would have been to better them. When asked, "How do you heal?" Yahusha replied, "By the finger of Elohim." This is what the Nabaim, or the prophets, had said regarding these things. These are the words of Yahuwah. "I will restore you to health and heal your wounds. Be strong of heart and courageous, neither afraid nor dismayed, for I am with you always." Yes, helpful. Thank you. That's another way of saying that, Yahwins. About this time, the Talmudim, that is, the disciples, questioned Yahusha concerning the world of Ruachot, or the world of spirits, wherein lies the reign of the Shamaim, or the kingdom of the heavens. And he said, "It is like a flight of stairs leading from cellar to the roof. They who enter the house are given a place on the stairs and may step downwards and back, but never up, though the stair above is not unknown to them. Those on top of the stair are in esteemed sunshine, while those at the bottom are in darkness and gloom." A Talmudim said, "Many who do not come mock your words." Yahusha replied, "Dogs bite stones, not those who throw them." Let me read that part again. Dogs bite stones, not those who throw them. Someone asked, "Are you the hammer of Elohim?" For all yearn for Elohim's intervention, and when that comes, will rejoice, saying, "This is the day of Yahuwah, for which we have long waited." So they're asking, is he the revenger of Yahuwah? Elohim's intervention. Yahusha answered, "There is a time for sowing and a time for reaping, everything to its appointed time." Yahusha gathered his followers around him and taught as follows: These days are a night of ignorance, when all is dark, but I am the light, which will dispel the darkness. My light will light your lamps, and you too will become bearers of the light. I am the light to point the way, and none can find the way to Yahuwah except by the light. Wow. Doesn't that sound very similar to John chapter 14, verse 6? I am the way, the truth, and the light. No one can come to the Father except through me. Very interesting words. Verse 16. I come to testify concerning the Father. For those following my way see Elohim in the light of the Father. Does not a father chastise and love and punish with affection? Does he not give you tasks only just within your power of accomplishment? Even as with an earthly father, so with the Father of the Shamaim of the heavens, who is infinitely greater. Being flesh, we understand earthly ways, but the ways of Yahuwah may also be known and understood, for his Ruach resides in all men. You hear that? For his spirit resides in all men, not some, but all men. Be upright in faith yourselves and teach uprightness and truth. Fear no man, especially the rich and powerful, for they live in servitude to their possessions and position. You hear that, family? Fear no man, especially the rich and powerful, for they live in servitude, or they live just to serve their possessions and their position. You must carry the light to many. That is, you must carry his Basora, his great news to many, but few will be those who light the lamp of their lives from it. What a way to put that. Do not covet riches, for though few men possess them, all who do are not free, but are themselves possessed by their wealth. Because riches are the possession of a few, all seek them. Even so are my words. Were they possessed by all, none would value them. Exactly. Because only a few of us have this, family. Only a few of us have this. Only a few of us have his words. Verse 19. Thank you for that, Casey. One said to Yahusha, Master, we are not all like Yohanan, who could surely eat bread made with sand. Who could surely eat bread made with sand? Is there no easy way? Yahusha said, the only easy path in life leads nowhere, or are cut by others. But the path I point can be cut by none but yourselves. So he's saying that the ones that the path that leads to life is not an easy one. He says, but the path I point can be cut by none but yourselves. So a point that can be cut would be pretty much that you're finding the route. You're learning the way to where that route is. And only yourselves can find it. It's only you. There's a few of us that's going to find this. A peddler going from place to place is willing to undergo the hardships incurred through his wandering in order to earn his livelihood. Even so should you be prepared to cheerfully accept the hardships imposed by life in order to gain esteem in the life which follows. So again here, brothers and sisters, he's not talking about anything that's going to be easy. This walk is not easy. It's going to have its difficulties. If a child is not raised with austerity, can it enjoy the pleasures of later life? Only the foolish parent overindulges the child, meaning that he gives the child everything that the child wants, is spoiled. And if it is done in the name of affection, the parent is either a hypocrite or irresponsible. You see, it is not always great to give your child everything that they want, family. I've learned that the hard way with our daughter, because she's out there running the streets right now. And all I can do is pray for her, and ask that Yahuwah would open up her eyes. But nonetheless, let's continue. Now, close by there was a well. Close by there was a well. And the Talmudim, that is the disciples, were drawing water for drinking. Yahusha called them over and said, do you find the water refreshing? They replied, yes, we have drunk our fill and are refreshed. Yahusha said, does any water remain in the well? They replied, Master, this well is inexhaustible and cannot be drunk dry by any number of men. Then Yahusha said, it is even so with my teachings. What I have revealed so far is but a small portion of the whole, yet it suffices for the present needs. The people among whom we go are perverse and headstrong, and like a thirsty donkey can be given only sufficient to ease their pressing need. If they say to you, this is beyond our understanding, or you have told us only in part, recall this well and the refreshing water you obtained from it. So he's saying, remember what I'm telling you. He's saying here, and let's read that part again, because he asked the question, do you find the water refreshing? And they replied, yes, we have drunk to our fill, or we drank till we were satisfied, and we are now refreshed. And Yahusha says, does any water remain in the well? And they replied, Master, this well is inexhaustible and cannot be drunk dry by any number of men. So then Yahusha says, it is even so with my teachings, that it's inexhaustible, that the well will never go dry. What I have revealed so far is but a small portion of the whole, yet it suffices for the present needs. So he's saying that I can only pour into you a little bit right now. You can't consume all of this knowledge that I have to reveal to you at this moment. The people among whom we go are perverse. They're perverted people, and headstrong, meaning that they're stubborn and like a thirsting donkey, can be given only sufficient to ease their pressing need. If they say to you, this is beyond our understanding, meaning the knowledge that Yahuwah has given you, family, and they can't understand that. Thank you. Thank you for that. This is beyond our understanding. Or if they say you have told us only in part, meaning that you're holding back some of your knowledge, he's saying, recall this well. Recall the well about this water and the refreshing water you obtained from it. One of the Talmudim asked, how shall we judge what people do, whether it be righteous or whether it be bad or evil? Yahusha said, if you are unsure whether a person's action is righteous or evil, incline in his favor. So pretty much saying to agree with him in what he believes. If anything may be interpreted favorably or otherwise, then interpret favorably. Do not seek for wrongdoing, like dogs chasing a foul smell. If a righteous man does something appearing to be evil, then withhold judgment, wondering whether there be some righteous motive behind it. Yet do not be easily hoodwinked. Notice that. Yet do not be easily hoodwinked or to be deceived. If one with a bad reputation does something seemingly righteous, question his motives. Exactly. Question his motives. Like a lot of these so-called philanthropists, right? But bear in mind that no man is either totally righteous or totally evil. Yahusha said, fortify yourselves or strengthen yourselves with the knowledge of the truth, as I have imparted it to you. Rejoice in the knowledge that you stand within its everlasting light. The Talmudim, or the disciples, said, Master, we are grateful for what you give us. We know each of us is a part of the everlasting Ruach, or the everlasting Spirit. We have truly found truth and see it more clearly than others. We are the children of the light and of the Ruach, even as we are the children of the Father. None of us can ever repay you, for we have been given treasure beyond riches. Only the Father of the Shamayim, or of the heavens, can provide proper recompense or repayment for your labors among men. At this time, Yahusha was teaching his Talmudim, his disciples, at a place apart. And he said, or he was still weary of the people, but he and the Talmudim went among them to earn their bread. To earn their bread. Yahusha healed many, but to his Talmudim he said, I have not come to strengthen the bodies of men, but their ruachot. Wow. Let's read that part again. Yahusha healed many, but to his Talmudim, to his disciples, he said, I have not come to strengthen the bodies, the physical bodies of men, but the ruachot, the spirits. For if man is wholesome in ruach, in spirit, he is wholesome in body. It is better to treat the man than the disease. Let me read that part again. It is better to treat the man than the disease. That is some serious words right there. One day, a Talmud, or a disciple, returning from his labor, said to Yahusha, Master, we work all day and scarcely sleep at night. Yet when we tell of your teachings, we are abused and mocked by the people. Doesn't this sound like many of us when we go to work? We go to work to try to tell people about him or tell about his teachings, and we are mocked and abused by the people. Where is the benefit in this, they say? Where's the benefit in this? Should we not be treated otherwise? Shouldn't we be treated better is pretty much what they're saying. I mean, after all, we're bringing them this important information that's going to give them everlasting life. And Yahusha says, when I was a boy, the poor would gather about my mother's door, for she always had an extra loaf in the oven for them. One day, a beggar, having been fed often and now perhaps considering it his entitlement, found fit to scold her. For this day she was not well, and therefore slow. She, not being used to this, began to weep. So I say unto you, do not let the talk of thoughtless tongue perturb you, for this is only a foretaste of what is to come. These things are refining processes of the Ruach, of the Spirit. Therefore rejoice for the benefit rather than the sorrow for the hurt. So what is the Messiah saying? He's saying that when you are being ridiculed by others, don't take it to heart. Don't take it so personally. Yahuwah is preparing you for a greater work, for a greater mission. That's what he's saying here. Verse 33. For when my mother cried, I said to her, dry your eyes and be happy, for now you can perform your charitable acts to perfection. Had those who stood about the door praised you, the deed would have been less worthy, having been done for their praise, and therefore not entirely out of charity. Many do righteous works because it increases their self-esteem, but charity is not giving the bone to a hungry dog, but giving the meat when hungry yourself. Wow. Wow. Let me read that again. I don't know if you guys caught that. Check this out. Starting from many. Many do righteous works because it increases their self-esteem. Think about it. When you give, you usually give because it makes you feel better, right? He says, but charity is not giving the bone to a hungry dog. Of course, the dog is going to want that bone because he's hungry. But giving the meat when hungry yourself, when you're hungry and you say, no, I'm not going to eat this food. I'm going to give it to somebody. I'm going to give it to someone. Even though you're hungry yourself, you're looking after somebody else's needs rather than yours. Wow. That blows me away. I'm so thankful. Sister Stella, thank you for this book. Thank you for gifting me this book. It's really become a Baruch in my life. Thank you. And I'm sure for those who are hearing these words that I'm reading it. So again, I thank you for sharing it out of the generosity of your heart. Pretty much what I just read. Even though you're hungry, you're giving it to me so that I can share it with others that are hungry as well. And so I thank you for that. And I don't even know if you're still here. Are you still here, Sister Stella? Maybe she had to leave. Oh, you're here. Okay. Alrighty. Yes. Thank you so much, sister. This has just been beautiful. Okay. So let's continue. Verse 34. And Andrew said to Yahusha, if we give all we have to the poor, they will grow fat and slothful, preferring a life of beggary to one of toil. Yahusha says charity is giving a hand to a blind man or soothing the wounds of those smitten by the Ruach, strengthening sword of life or Kai. It is better to help those in distress or those who cannot help themselves, but sometimes giving does more harm than to better them. Many give because it eases their conscience or raises their self-esteem. Such giving is not righteousness. But when giving entails self-sacrifice, then it is better to give than to receive. For the benefit lies in the sacrifice made and not in the thing bestowed. Did you guys understand that? That's interesting. Let me read that part again. Such giving is not righteousness. But when giving entails self-sacrifice, then it is better to give than to receive. So when you're going through something, be it that you don't have anything, and the little bit that you have, you're going to go ahead and give it anyway to help someone else out. Then it is better to give than to receive, for the benefit lies in the sacrifice made and not in the thing bestowed. So it is your sacrifice. That's where the benefit lies. When you do it out of sacrifice, not what you're giving. That's powerful. A rich man was going away, so he gave a purse of silver to each of his 2 servants, so they could keep themselves while he was away. One servant spent the money on merchandise, which he hawked around the city, and by being thrifty, was able to recover the silver with sufficient over to buy a stall and then a shop. So this person took his money and he invested it, and he was able to get more money back, recover the silver with sufficient over to buy a stall and then a shop. When the master returned, he said to this man, such effort should not go unrewarded, and made him a gift of the silver. The servant, having the purse of silver, began to spend it on pleasure and a life of ease. So when the master returned, there was nothing left. This angered the master after seeing how hard the other had toiled. So he demanded repayment of the silver, and when this could not be done, enslaved the man. He was enslaved. He enslaved the man. The improvident servant was unable to understand why the other has been given a gift of freedom, while he was enslaved for being unable to repay. Why he would had money was given more. Yet I say to you, this is the way of the Father, who gives trusteeship of earth's bounty to his children. Likewise, they are given talents of spiritual gold, which are greater than any earthly silver. But these many choose to bury in the ground. For them the day of accounting must surely come. So again, this sounds like the parable of the talents. Remember, the Messiah talked about in the Basora about those that he had gave talents before he left. He gave one 5, another one 3, and another one 1. And the one who had 5, he took what he had and he had 10. And the one who had 3, he had extra. But the one who had 1, he hid it. He didn't do anything with it. Okay. Yahusha tarried, in verse 39, Yahusha tarried along beside the waters, moving from place to place and teaching his Talmudim according to their understanding. Notice he says, according to their understanding. Some were like strong, well-plastered cisterns holding water without leaking a drop. Others could not retain all that was poured into them. Yahusha taught each only in accordance with his capacity, and some carried much more of his teachings than others. And that is so true because, again, as it says in the word, he has given us all a measure of faith, a measure of belief. Not all of us understand the same. Not all of us have the same comprehension. But yet and still, he still shares his truth with us. And what you do have, you are responsible for what you do have and what you share. Verse 40. One day at evening, Yahusha said, because you are wearied and your task seems endless, do not despair. What you do may... let me say that again. What you do may be likened to a man down by the shore whose master has set him the task of carrying water from the sea to fill a hole in the sand. The sea flows no less, neither does the land become flooded. When the master comes, the man says to him, this is a fruitless task to which I can see no end. And the master replies, It is one which grows easier with time, and each day you are paid. Hallelujah. Thank you for that, Yah, son. 2 men, finding favor in the eyes of a sovereign or a king, were promised high positions in a distant city, but had to find their own way. They set off together and stayed the first night at an inn where there were many attractions. One man spent the night in drinking and merriment. I guess that means he was drinking and having fun. The other, finding an experienced traveler who knew the road, kept the night in his company. This second man learned that by going to a particular way, he would avoid a thick forest full of wild beasts. A turning would lead him away from a swamp, and others from a precipice. I can't even say it right. From a precipice and thorny thickets. He went to bed and awoke early, feeling refreshed, and went his way. The other man, being heavy-headed and sluggish, started late in the day. So this man was drunk, this other man, and he was sluggish. I've had those feelings in the past. Some of you who know what it feels like to have a hangover, that's what this man was feeling. The early starter, heeding all he had been told, came quickly to the city and enjoyed his rewards. The other became lost in the forest and was wounded by the wild beasts. He wandered through swamps and fell down the precipice to be unalived of weariness among the thickets. Now the thick forest is ignorance. The swamps are delusions. The precipice, the cardinal desires which lure men to spiritual disaster, and the thorny thickets, tribulation and suffering, without which development is impossible. The experienced traveler is a Talmud, or one who is a disciple of the light, and the man who reaches the city, one who listens to him. So we see that there's 2 different ones. So pretty much what the Messiah is saying, one listened to the instructions of the Messiah and the other one didn't. It's pretty much what he's saying. The Talmudim, or the disciples, said, "Master, many people hear our words, but how many take them to heart and benefit? We are trying to bail out the sea with a shell." We are trying to bail out the sea with the shell. Interesting. Yahusha said, "Then you are learning patience and persistence in a great school. If a cloak is placed around the shivering man, his body becomes warm and is comforted. But if it is placed around a boulder, there is neither effect nor response. Though I have told you the days fly as though carried on the wings of a swallows, do not act as though the day's labors is all important and must be completed within the day. Doing this, you become less able to perform the task. For he who tries to reach out over the edge of his limitations falls into a pit and achieves nothing." So Yahusha is saying, do not overachieve yourself. Do not go beyond your understanding of your limitations. Stay within your reach. Stay within your limitations. Yaakov, the Talmud, or the disciple, said, "If a man is unlimited wealth says, If a man of unlimited wealth says, 'Come and count silver pieces from sunrise to sunrise,' and all the pieces counted will be yours, could the man counting be expected to sleep during the night?" Yahusha replied, "A man having much wealth is unlikely to do anything without purpose, and this would be in the counting. Could you count silver pieces from sunrise to sunrise and not make an error?" Yahusha said, "Let none among you take the hand grips of my plow unless he is prepared to grasp them firmly and cut a deep furrow. Let none of you walk behind it unless prepared for weariness and sweat. There is no easy way for the plowman. The field is there, and he must cultivate it furrows by furrow," or meaning line by line. He's going to have to go through and he's going to have to dig out that trench line by line. "If he is careless, the grain yield will be poor. Water drawn from the ground or falling from the sky will produce burning weeds and grass. But to produce bread to eat and wine to drink, water from the brows of men must be added. Yet labor is not without its own reward. For the man who labors all day sleeps contently, even though his pillow be a stone, while the sluggard sleeps without content, even though he lie on a pillow of down, or that is of duck feathers or goose feathers. That is a lot that we just read there. Different than what we read in the Besorah, but yet you can see the wisdom in this writing. You can see the understanding of what is being told to us here. Very, very interesting. It gives me the sense of how the Messiah, what he tells us in his word, that those of us who drink of his water, we shall not thirst again. Those who drink of his, or those who eat of his bread, will not be hungry again. We will be satisfied. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm reading. This is what I'm getting from this. What are you guys getting from all of this? I really believe it's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. And so we're on number 4, and I'm going to stop there for a moment. We'll come back to that. Some very deep teachings there. I like it. Nothing that we haven't heard in that context before, but different. It's very different. Yes, thank you, Nazareth. I am definitely going to stretch. Hallelujah. Yes, he is awesome.